Ever have one of those conversations with someone where the energy is just like a vibe, right? You feel so pumped after talking to that person, and the conversation just like flows, and it feels like the two of you could just like solve all the problems of the world, right? I've loved those conversations. Let me say that first. And I had one the other day with someone who is relatively a new friend of mine, and I really dig her. She's just so cool and beautiful inside and out. And again, it's like when you're around people that you just know you want more of them. You want to be in their presence even more, right? Well, she's one of those people, and we've decided we're going to be friends too, by the way. Like kindergartners, like, do you want to be my friend? Anyway, the conversation we had led me to think about this issue that I've grappled with, frankly, my entire life. And at different points, it's been better. And at different points, there have been highs and lows with this issue. And I wonder if you've felt the same way. So it got me thinking about spending time with ourselves, right? Like I talk about how I actually like to be alone. In many instances, and for a lot of reasons. I get a lot of energy, or I need to refuel my energy. I think I'll put it that way. I have to kind of reinvigorate my energy, and that only takes place when I have kind of me time and alone time. And I've talked too about how I don't really like being around a lot of people. And all of that to say, part of what I was thinking about was how we have to get really comfortable with being with ourselves. And that goes back to, I think, liking ourselves, right? And it reminds me of when, excuse me, I was a teenager, and in high school, I had this really serious, way too serious boyfriend early on. I think we were in about the 8th grade when we started going together. That's what we called it. What did you guys call it when you were kids? Dating, although we weren't going out on dates. Anyway, we became boyfriend and girlfriend in about the 8th grade, right? And we got really close, really fast. Great friends, had a lot in common, really enjoyed each other's company, and it became romantic, and we were boyfriend, girlfriend. But at a point in that relationship, let's say like the next year, once I was in high school, he was a year older, so he was already in high school. At a point, that relationship got to a place where I wanted to be with him all the time. And I had a hard time being alone, being by myself. And it was this weird dynamic where I became kind of reliant on seeing him all the time, spending time with him. It was almost as if like I couldn't be happy and content by myself anymore. I got so used to us doing things together. And I remember several times having a conversation with my mom about this. And it was really more like she started the conversation, because I think in her wisdom, she recognized that that was an issue. That was a problem, right? That I wasn't able to be by myself anymore, and was always looking to spend time with him. And so I remember what she told me was, you need to be interesting, but you need to be interesting to yourself. If you're not interesting to yourself, then you won't be interesting to other people. And that conversation took place over, lots of different times. We talked about this in different ways. But bottom line, her perspective was really wise. And I think it carries true into adulthood. It is fine to get energy from other people. It is fine, I think, and even healthy to be in these really powerful relationships. And I'll kind of focus on romantic relationships here for a minute as I talk about this. It's amazing to have a deep connection to our romantic partner, right? To our spouse or whoever that partner is. We are emotional beings. We are beings who love connection. We thrive on that interaction with other people. We're not designed to be alone. But we also have to really like ourselves enough to be able to be alone. We have to find ourselves interesting enough to spend time with. And that, I think, lends itself to this larger conversation of, what do we find worthy about ourselves? What do we find lovable about ourselves? What do we fall in love with about ourselves? What do we appreciate about ourselves? What do we value about ourselves? And until and unless we know what those things are and we can find comfort and joy in them, I don't think that we are really at a place where we can have a healthy, truly meaningfully deep relationship with our partner. And I know over the years, it's something that my mom's words have come back to me from time to time when I maybe have been in spaces where I found myself maybe a little less comfortable with being alone. And sometimes it can have to do with, our physical being. Sometimes it can have to do with our mental and emotional states. It can have to do with what's going on like situationally in our lives. Of course, we're going to need more of that support system. For example, when we are enduring a loss, or for some reason there is tragedy in our lives. But kind of on the whole, I'm talking about here, we have to be able to be really comfortable with who we are and be able to spend time in joy with ourselves if we expect to be able to have that kind of really connected relationship to our friends, our family, our spouses, our significant others. And a couple of ways that I have tried to reconnect even just recently with this whole idea is I've been doing projects, for example. Like, what is it that makes me happy? How do I find peace and happiness and contentment by myself? What is it that I need to do to cultivate that feeling, right? And I'm really bad about throwing myself into work. I will work all day long, honestly. And I enjoy my work, and I'm not saying that's something that's necessarily a bad thing, because I do really enjoy it. But if I'm not careful, I will become completely enthralled in conversations with clients, with working on projects to help our clients more, with creating resources for the women in our free group, with thinking about how to expand our mission to help even more women. And I could go on and on and on, because that kind of quote unquote work never ends. My mind is constantly forging that path, right? And thinking about more and more and more. Sorry, I have to bend over if you're watching me on video. I'm bending over to scratch my ankle. Real life, folks. My point is, if I'm not careful, that really great positive quality about my work can become obsessive. It can become something that is unhealthy for me. None of us should be so completely absorbed in our work that it takes over 24 hours of our day, 24 hours of what we're thinking about. And so I needed to take action and put something in place that would keep me from spending all my time working. And I thought, what is it that I enjoy doing? What can I do that I enjoy that I will find, the satisfaction in and feel productive about doing it? And, in the past, those kinds of projects have looked a variety of different ways. I enjoy crocheting, and I used to spend a lot of time making projects and gifts for people. I also enjoy reading, and I would spend a lot of time reading and learning, really more, learning, but also I have to be careful with reading because I'll read about work, right? And so I have to, read things for pleasure. In the last 10 years or so, I have found a lot of enjoyment in my routine and healthy kinds of exercises. I've running, for example, has given me a lot of joy. And I think, all of that to say, this is kind of why it's come to my present mind again here recently, because with this foot injury, I have not been able to take those escapes from work with runs, with the workouts, with walks, for example, right? Because I'm limited in what I can do physically. And I really found myself thinking about how I'm spending too much time, again, focused on the joy outside of myself rather than the contentment and the joy within myself. And so, all of that to say, a tip for you, I think, is it can be found in what I have done recently in thinking about, okay, if I can't run, what is it that I can do to enjoy spending time with myself, to reconnect with what I love about me, right? And so for me, it's been doing things around our home that have been project kinds of little mini remodel, upgrade projects, if you will, because not only does that give me a lot of satisfaction, I love figuring out how I can make our home more comfortable and cozy, really, and more a place that feels like a sanctuary, a place of peace for us. And I enjoy doing it myself. I really I know that I could pay a contractor, for example, to come in and paint the game room, which I did earlier this summer. But I really enjoy getting in and spending the time, like working with my hands and the satisfaction of seeing the product, what I created, how I improved something, right? So because that gives me a lot of joy personally, and it also makes me feel really good about the result and how it impacts our family. Roger and I really enjoy our home. And so it's doing something for the two of us, but it's more of a solo project, right? Where I feel that really satisfied feeling, and I'm reconnecting with parts of me that I enjoy and I admire and I feel very accomplished around. And it's like finding things about yourself that can make you your own best friend. I think that's really what it is. And so again, for me, it's projects. This weekend, I painted the fireplace, completely gave it a facelift. And then I enjoyed that so much, I went outside and reconstructed the way our backyard and our patio is set up so that it's more of a fall into winter kind of sanctuary where we can get cozy and sit around the fire pit and really enjoy mornings and evenings, rather than the pool focus that we've had for the summer. And so I would encourage you to think about that idea of how do you spend time? Do you spend time with yourself in ways that reflect a really good friendship with who you are? And if not, how can you find qualities about yourself that you want to improve, that you want to spend time with, that you want to use in a way that you can deepen the relationship with yourself? Because I really do think that this life and living it in joy has to first start with a focus on who we are and how we feel about ourselves. And if we're not in a place where we're really, really happy with ourselves and we don't really like ourselves like we should, if we're not our own best friend, we really need to find ways to work on that and improve it if we want to then be able to improve our relationships with our family, with our friends, with our employment, with our colleagues. So start there. Let me know what you think about this. I hope it was helpful. And if anything on any of these episodes on this podcast have been helpful to you, I would really appreciate you giving the podcast a review. Write a review, give it a rating, and most especially, reach out to me, DM me through Instagram, send me an email, reach out to me on Facebook. I'm always in those conversations, and I love hearing from you. So I will see you right back here next time.